Welcome to Resilient Talks Podcast, where real stories of bounce backs, breakthroughs, and bold comebacks. Hosted by your retired veteran, speaker, and transformation coach, Nat Martin. This is the place where you reset your mindset, reclaim your voice, and rise with purpose. Resiliency is your superpower. Let's activate it. Hey guys, it's your girl Nat Martin, and we are here with Resilience Talks, and I have a special guest that I want to introduce you to. Go ahead and tell my audience, what is your name and what do you do?
My name is Darrell Anderson. Podcast is Man2Man360. That's man, the number 2, Man360. And I'm also at Man2Man360.com.
Okay, and what do you do on your podcast? So who do you talk to?
So my podcast, Man2Man360, is basically for men by men dealing with all subjects. The twist here, though, is that we deal with, we encourage and empower men to make it in life through the power of Jesus Christ. So it's a biblically worldview that deals with everything. I mean, everything from things that guys deal with to things that's happening in current affairs. I mean, some of our podcasts were about the Kanye West issue and everything else and how we felt about that. It may have been about Black Lives Matter and how we do black business and those kind of things. But everything sort of comes to a point to where we make everything to a point of, where we are in our lives and where we want to encourage men to be at the end of the day. One of the things I learned from this one, though, from the conference recently that we've all been together at, is I want to narrow that down to men really in that 28 to maybe 38-year-old range.
So why, so right now I know you have a bigger scope and bigger range. What made you narrow it down to 28 to 38? What key factors are you going to hone in on for that age?
Well, good question, because originally it was just supposed to be just men, regardless of age. And what we found out when we started the podcast is that we actually had half of our audience was women listening to it anyway.
Right.
Nothing wrong with that. But one of the things that I learned from the workshop a few weeks ago was that, if I narrow it down a little bit and I can see that person, I call him Keyshon. And Keyshon is a 28-year-old young man. He's got an associate's degree, doing okay in life, but, got a little hustle and everything else, real smart and all that, but, got still some things to learn that he wanted to be better in life.
Okay.
And when I pictured that young man on the other side of that camera there, then that's sort of the guy that I talk to a lot anyway. And that's sort of...
Keyshon's the avatar.
He's my avatar.
So if Keyshon, what is Keyshon struggling with? What is the pain points that you're helping Keyshon get through?
So one of the key things that he struggled with is one of the things that a lot of guys that I talk to every day struggle with. They have some good lives and whatnot and smart and doing some things in life, but basic things that they didn't maybe have a father growing up. So we sort of give them those little advantage points that they didn't maybe get then, and they only get from their friends now, but we give it to them today in that type of context. I mean, at the age I am now, and my son is in that age group as well. So now we give those kind of talking points or encouragement points or those little bullets.
Okay. So as far as now, with my background, we're working with young men, pretty much in the age groups of 17 up to the young age of 39. I do notice there's a difference, and that's why I asked you that age group, particularly from 28 to 38, because some of them may be coming into also fatherhood.
Right.
Some of them may be still trying to find their way.
That's right.
And then some of them are probably dealing with childhood trauma that surface because when they get to that, right before that 30-year mark, life starts to life different.
Yeah. They're really trying to find themselves at that point. And I'm glad you brought that up because really it's at that point. And the reason I mentioned he's got an associate's degree. So this isn't necessarily a kid that doesn't have anything per se, but he's smart. He's got some things going on in life, but he's still got some home things and some just ways he needs to handle himself with the ladies and professionalism, for money, and as far as vision and everything else as a man. And so that's about where that point is where he's already a man, but he's really becoming into his own when he's going into those 30s.
Right. And some of those key points, again, with Resilient Talks, we talk about resiliency. And even with you just giving the description of your avatar for Keyshon, you really are trying to show him how to be resilient, to persevere through life obstacles.
True.
And so I'm trying to showcase that to people that it's really your day-to-day life and how you overcome and bounce back from any type of setback. If so now that you went to the conference and it kind of helps you bring everything to a narrow, to niching it down, what would be the result that you're able to get from Keyshon?
Basically, it's those everyday questions. It allows Keyshon to be able to walk in some everyday things with a little bit more confidence. He's not really shaky about why he should be doing certain things. He's not really shaky on, how should he handle this? Why should he pick this type of job, or why should he move in this type of direction? He'll be a lot more confident saying that, I'm not doing this because my peers are just saying this. I'm doing this because this is just what guys do or what men do. And this is the direction that maybe I'm like his uncle, that his uncle gave him in some cases or whatever. And so it gives him a little bit of a backing.
Right.
So that he can say, okay, well, that's some sound
It gives
judgment.
them that male figure, because
Exactly.
if you think about it, to be honest, 28 to 38, that's almost that age group that male.
Yeah.
So they are seeking support. They're seeking not support just from their mom.
Yeah, right.
What we learned is that everybody, mamas is going to be affected in the male role model and the male being in life. And to be honest, a positive and healthy
True.
male role model, because a lot of them will see a toxic or unhealthy role model, and that still doesn't.
Well, I'm glad you brought that part up, because especially now in the last, I'd say 2-3 years, there's a lot of content out there that's trying to help these same guys. Some of it's sort of good, and some of it's sort of taking them down taking them down the wrong road. And we're sort of taking it back into a more of a traditional view, but a solid one. Now, obviously, from our show perspective, and from a biblical worldview, but it's just good standards, and it's not guys trying to say, "Hey, this is how you get this many body counts." We're not talking body counts. We're not pushing that. And so it's at this point where he's making decisions about the type of women and whether he should or shouldn't. And we're saying, well, no, that's
maybe how to become a.
That's it.
Because
That's exactly it.
Your women saying, because it's the fairy tale how we raise them.
That's it.
But if we shift the narrative,
That's it.
we can actually start incorporating it. So you're going to be some, which also means you're going to be survived.
That's right. That's it. That's 100%, because you're right. So when they talk about the body count thing, you never hear like, okay, well, we're just getting with women and there's nothing there. Like, no, we're pointing in that direction of not only marriage, but hopefully in that order of husband and then father. But we're also talking about, before you even go into those roles, there's some things you need to take care of before then. Are you working? I mean, are you going to be a good husband? So these are the things that make you very not only suitable, but it makes you higher up the ranks and it makes you a better option for women to choose from and to be a father and everything else.
I believe in work. So part of being a transformation coach, I believe in people doing the work.
That's right.
And so I think we all have been brought up in some type of trauma because of our lineage. And it's just repeated cycles and some traditions.
Yep.
But when I tell people, in order for you to be, before you include anyone into your life, properly just,
there you go.
Tune in, go get the resources, because now we have podcasting.
Yep.
You can listen.
Yep.
You can go to a conference. You can tap in. The internet is a full range for resources without even having to know.
That's right.
So how can they find your podcast or any of your social media platforms? Or go ahead and tell
Really, the easiest way is to go to Man2Man360.com. It's Man2Man360.com. And there is where they can follow the show. All of our social media is there as well, from our YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. That's also where you can contact us. Leave messages there and everything else. So that's probably the best place in one spot.
Okay. And I have another question.
Yep.
So for you launching this podcast for Keyshon in that age group, what was it that made you launch this? Like, what was the initiative or the push to say, I have to do this? Like, what was that?
Well, so we've been around for a minute now. We actually launched the show January of 2021.
Okay.
And originally then, Keyshon wasn't in the picture then because it was wide. And the reason I launched the podcast at that time, I've been involved in men's ministry since the 90s. And we've always been dealing with men, the men groups, but also individually, where I run into guys all the time in that age group, in the 20s and 30s. And I'm always just speaking and just encouraging. And somebody talked about doing a podcast years ago. I said, man, that might be cool, but I don't know. And I put it off. I actually had the name several years ago. And the coincidental thing you mentioned, I asked the question, was that in 2020, it was October 2020, I'll never forget it. I went to a funeral for a great aunt of mine. She was 107, which is a good thing.
Wow.
107.
Okay.
That funeral was on a Thursday. It's like, oh wow, we all celebrated that. The next day, I wasn't able to go to it, but my scoutmaster, he was 98. His funeral was on that Friday. I said, wow, okay, he made it to 98, but I saw him a few years ago, so that was good. But that Saturday was at a funeral for a buddy of mine. His sister passed. She was 32. So I was like, whoa. And it was in that funeral, literally sitting in that funeral, I said, okay, 3 people died, and that let me know, okay, life ain't waiting for nobody. Death ain't waiting for you. And I've been wanting to do this podcast thing for years. And I said, if I don't do it now, it's going to probably die with me, and I don't want that. So I called up 8 guys. I said, listen, how would you like to be on the podcast? All of them said, yeah. And then next thing you know, down to about a week later, it was down to 3 other guys. And from there, we launched the podcast. We started doing some practice rehearsal and all that kind of thing, and then launched in 2021. But the reason I wanted to do that was sort of for the same reason. It was just wider at that time. Workshops like the one we went to recently sort of helped me narrow it down and gave me a better purpose for the guys I've always wanted to talk to.
Right. So 2021, that was after pandemic, but still, we had the residue of pandemic still living on.
Yep.
How did you, with starting something new, how were you able to use resiliency and persevere through pretty much, I want to say the backlash? It was like 2020, mindset shift, everything just changed, the world changed. And everybody had to adapt quick, where some people still haven't adapted. How was that starting something new and Nancy's story to get you from there to where you are now?
In 2020, because at that time I worked for a major company, so I'll just call it a grocery supermarket chain, one of the largest in the country. And I was working in corporate at the time, and we saw a dramatic change with that. But because I was in that field of what they called essential, I had to actually go to work every day. So all my neighbors were at home on the expressway which would normally be packed. I was the only car with headlights on a dark expressway. So I had to get resilience quick, because it was fear like, okay, this looks like a scary movie, but now this is reality. So over time, not only that, and it's really my faith in the Lord that really kept us strong to believe that, He's not only going to keep us, but, allow us to get through this and everything else. But when we came to the end of that year, around the time frame I was talking about, one of the things that as we, because at this point I'm like, well, I'm out here every day. So there's nothing for me to be afraid of. And that fear part went away. But what we had to do to launch that and get it together was, I said, well, I don't even know. I can't get people together. So we looked into Zoom and we looked into other features, and we wound up doing some other thing other than Zoom. And I bought mics for all my guys. I bought them USB mics. I said, listen, these are the mics you guys are going to use. You're going to use these cameras. And I bought all the equipment because it was my podcast. And so I said, well, here's the investment. I own it. Here. And then we went from there. We tested the quality. Nope, you need to have this kind of light. Nope, you do this, reset your cameras, reset your computers, et cetera, et cetera. And that's how we really started it. We started it with several podcasts we knew would fail. We knew the quality would be whack. And then we continued to record until I was able to edit it down to enough to where when we started in January.
See, you said a key word. And one of the things I tell people is that, you said you knew it was going to fail, but you really didn't. So one of the things is, failure is success.
True.
Failing forward, but you wouldn't have known how to get better quality, how to get better lighting, how to get better visual. You wouldn't have known none of that if you wouldn't have took action to do it. So it actually, some people fear of doing stops them in their place, so they never get to do. So you persevered over that because you was like, time ain't on my side.
No.
Some people would have seen the first video and be like, oh, this is just, I'm done. But you still persevered through that. And now, you just told me, even when we opened up, you mentioned that you're shifting to narrow down his now. So what I really want everybody to understand is that resiliency shows up.
True.
And it's just the fact of growing through challenges and obstacles. And so now when you go back, you got to niche down, you're like, and guess what? The probability is you might change it again.
Right.
Because you're going to learn from whatever comes up to get the result.
Well, the scarier part, actually, is the fact that I don't even know if Keyshons are listening to our podcast today. So it's like, well, wait a minute.
Wait. We're going to back it up. How are you getting your matrix, your analytics? You haven't looked at the analytics?
So a lot of the people, and this is the thing. I don't know if I mentioned this part already or not, but when we started in 2020, it wasn't a podcast officially.
Okay.
I'm a partner of an online radio station.
Okay.
So through that radio station, we launched the show there, and it's still going there every week, 3 times a week now. And then in April is when we did the podcast launch.
Okay.
So
April of this year?
No, I'm sorry, April of 2021, that same year.
Okay.
So I wanted to make sure I had enough podcasts there that when we did the launch, it was a full catalog of podcasts for people to choose from. And so at that time, we did see some of the analytics and whatnot. It wasn't a lot of downloads, but I did see, but it was such a wide mix. Because like I said, 50% of the audience were women. Actually, I really want to say 60%, but I still don't want to admit it. But it was really 55 to 60% were women. And with that, they sort of spread the news more than me, to the point more than other guys I mean.
Think about it. If 50% did 50 to 60% is women, so they can be mothers.
True.
Of the avatar. They can be sisters.
True.
They can be caretakers. They can be friends, cousins. You know what I'm saying? That's actually amazing, because sometimes we look at the direct or connection, where it's like it's other decision makers that can do that. So you can be given a message, and that mom, that sister, and brother, friends on to them. So that's also, because I have a lot of men, but they have women in their life.
True.
They have daughters, they have wives, they have girlfriends. So even though they may not be my direct, also can get that information.
It's true. I even asked some, because, I would see people from time to time. We would have events to sort of bring them out. And I would ask, well, why do you listen to the show? And they said, well, we like to hear the perspective of men. We rarely get to hear them. And we want to hear how men think. And so, like you said, because some of them do have sons or grandsons or nephews and that type of thing. So you're right.
All right. So going forward, Keyshon's listening right now. What is one message that you would give him for being resilient? The services that you can.
Yeah. So one of the catchphrases that we've been using now for probably a little over a year and a half is to be unapologetically masculine. And we say that because one of the podcasts we've done, that's not become merch too, by the way, is one of the things that, one of the episodes that we've done, actually maybe 2, was on the topic of toxic masculinity. And we defined what that meant and whether that's true or real or not. And there's an attack on masculinity, we believe. Keyshon, to become is to be a man, to be masculine. But masculinity is a good thing. I was sharing this
but
with
now hold up.
Yeah.
You do understand.
I do.
It's on both gender parts, right? Okay. I just want to make sure, because a lot of times when we hear that word, and that's one of them key words right now, people hear masculinity, it means macho. So it's like, no, because you want to tap into, that's tap into my divine feminine. So it's like you want to, but people only use those terminology and they don't understand it's a balance of both in both genders. So
well, I'm glad you bring that up, because that's why we dealt with in the toxic masculinity. We really destroyed some of those things of what masculinity truly is. That's not masculinity.
Right.
It's toxic because it's wrong or evil.
Right.
And one of the
toxic.
It's just toxic.
Yeah.
And one of the things I shared with my son over the holidays, I said, masculine, a man means love. So when you think, no, a man means love. And what that means is his is different from a woman's from this perspective. My love means I'm willing to die for everybody in this house. And if you, and so Keyshon, if you understand that, you're willing to die for everybody in your house. You're willing to defend everybody, and so that they live a really good life. And that it may not always feel good to you, but there's a certain pride in that. I get to take care of my family. We use the example of the snowblower. At 4 a.m. when everybody else is still sleeping, well, somebody got to get on the snowblower.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Well, that good masculine, that love means let everybody can stay comfortable, go outside and blow the snow at 4 a.m. in 2-degree weather. And those are the things that, once you put we can make it evil and we can make it toxic and we make it bad. but it really means love. Man, I love these people so much that these are the things I'm going to do. I'm not going to take from you. A real man gives, not takes.
Listen, Keyshon, if you're listening, make sure you tap in. Tell them again how they can find you on all social media platforms.
So come on over to Man2Man360.com, man, the number 2, man360.com, and also to Facebook.com/Man2Man360. Also YouTube.com, man2man/Man2Man360. And come on over to my IG is actually AMG, which is the name of the production company, Ambassador Media Group. So it's AMG_ podcast producer. And there you will go see all.
Y'all gonna have all those links down below. So make sure that y'all tap in. I'm gonna go ahead and put the links down below. It's been amazing.
Definitely.
Again, he showed you guys, again, Keyshon, the avatar. If you're listening, that is how you're going to be able to go through life with your resilient talk. And this is your girl, Nat Martin. Thank you guys for attending. Don't forget to subscribe.
Listen,